as if he's got those qualities. But as you're right, Manchester City, almost of all teams, have got that they're blessed with, a lot of talent, so that some of their really good players have to sort of be patient. Even like Jeremy Doku, who I think is one of their best players. He's superb, and yet sometimes he doesn't start. He didn't start when Jack Grealish was there last season. Jack would sometimes come on, sometimes Jeremy would start. It was a bit of a squad situation with them. And of course, now they've got, I can't think of his name at Man City, but another player who sometimes alternates with Doku. And yet, I think for me, he's one of the best players in the Premier League. He's quick, he's decisive, he's talented, and yet he has to fight for his place. And that's the point. With many clubs, in answer to your question, I would say no. I think if they buy this guy, he's going to be a starter each game. But with Manchester City, they're blessed with so many good players that I'm pretty certain not many players coming into that team, apart from stalwarts in defence like Ruben Diaz, Rodri, who's now back, obviously the goalkeeper, Guardiola, who actually has fractured his shin bone, I think, so he's going to be out for a while. But a lot of their players like that pick themselves. They will be on the team sheet. But the rest of them, of course, Haaland will be in that category as well. But most of the others, Marmoush and others, great players though they are, will find themselves not starting every game. They may well come on. So I think this guy from Bournemouth, I think, could well find himself in that situation because he's not tried and tested anyway at that level. But Guardiola will know that he's got potentially a very good footballer who he can bring on and bolster up the team, and he's good cover for injuries to Haaland or somebody else. So, yeah, I think that would be very much the downside. You think when the players have their interviews and they get their medicals, they must ask certain questions, and they're entitled to. And if he is told, well, you'll have to fight for your place, some may say, well, it's Manchester City, they're offering me a good contract, I'll go for it. Others may say no. I mean, on the point, that general point of a player's questions, I was sort of talking to somebody about Johnson before we knew he was having a medical. And someone said about, well, do you think he'll sign? I said, well, yeah. But actually, if he says to Oliver Glasner, are you going to be manager here for the next couple of years? Or, I mean, he may not. It may perhaps a player shouldn't expect to ask a question and get an answer to that sort of question. But I think it's reasonable for a player to say to a manager, are you going to be here for this season, for example? And if he said no, perhaps Glasner or any manager probably wouldn't answer that question. But I still think the future of a manager who's often being talked about as going somewhere else, like Glasner, would figure in a player's decision about, am I going to go to Palace if they're losing? I know they're losing Mark Gay at this point, either now or in the summer. They've lost Eze. Undoubtedly, Adam Morton will go, probably in the summer again. So do I want to go to a club that, because of its situation, like many clubs in the Premier League, it's a bit of a feeder club? Or do I want to go to a club where you don't have to sell your best players? So it's a minefield. I don't have the answers to all that. But I
Yeah.
do say, in answer to your question, I think anyone who goes to Manchester City will have to accept they won't always start each week. It just isn't the
Yeah.
way they do it there.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about when I thought about him, I thought, well, you've got Doku there. You've got there's a guy called Nico Gonzalez. He's there. Gonzalez. He's there. You've got obviously the tall guy, Erling Haaland. You've got him
Ireland.
there. Mamouche is there. So, Is he really making the right decision? Time will tell. Only time will tell anyway. Yeah, but he is a good player. He's a he's a really good player, let's put it that way. Now, I was just looking at what's his name? Arne Slot. So we're just gonna go back to Arne Slot. It's something that he said. I'm just trying to something that is said in relation to the game tonight with Arsenal. Yeah, okay. So he said our focus in the Premier League now is about a top five finish. Now we know he's had a bad season. He thinks he's out of the wood, right? But let's look at the stats. So in comparison with Arsenal, so we're looking at 29 games for both teams. Now for Arsenal, they've won they've had 24 wins, 3 draws, 2 losses, 62 goals scored, 16 goals conceded. In contrast with Liverpool, the same 29 games, they've won 15 out of the 29. They've drawn 4, losses 10, 47 goals scored, 30 goals conceded. Now, is he out of the wood yet, Arne Slot?
Much would depend on the trend in those games. I mean, the fact is the 10 games lost were, for the most part, after their very good start. They won their first 5, I think, and then they had a long run of defeats, maybe interspersed with a draw here and there, maybe the odd victory. But I think the trend has been, for the last few weeks, generally better. I mean, I think on Saturday or Sunday they drew with away at Fulham 2-2. Now Fulham actually are becoming a very good club. I mean, I'm pleased that I went to the game against Palace at Fulham a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, in November, and Palace won 2-1. It was a very good game, and they're a very good side. And again, I like one of their players, Harry Wilson, who is good whenever I've seen him, and he scored again last night, of course,
Yeah.
Against Chelsea. So Fulham are becoming a good side, but you still would think Liverpool, with its history, with its size, with its power and its reputation.